If someone had told me that opening my front door to a complete stranger would change my life forever, I would have laughed. Back then, I was 32 years old, living alone in Denver, Colorado. I worked as a physical therapist at Denver General Hospital. My life was quiet, predictable. Go to work, come home, read a book, sleep, repeat. I never imagined that one stormy October night, everything would change. My name is Sarah Mitchell, and this is the story of the night a frightened pregnant stranger knocked on my door, and why she came back 5 years later. It started on a Thursday evening. The rain had been falling for hours. Kind of cold rain that makes the streets almost empty. About 9:30, I was making a cup of tea when someone knocked on my front door. 3 quick knocks, then silence. I wasn't expecting anyone. I looked through the peephole. A young woman, maybe 24 years old, standing on my porch. Her clothes were soaked. Her hair clung to her face. One hand rested on her pregnant belly. The other was shaking from the cold. She looked terrified. I opened the door carefully. "Can I help you?" Her voice barely came out. "I'm sorry to bother you. My car broke down. My phone is dead. And..." She looked down at her stomach. "I don't think I should be outside tonight." For a moment, I hesitated. Every safety warning I'd ever heard rushed through my mind. Don't trust strangers. Don't let anyone inside. Call someone instead. Then I looked into her eyes. She wasn't angry. She wasn't dangerous. She was scared. Really scared. I stepped aside. "Come in." The relief on her face was immediate. "Thank you." She quietly walked inside. The warmth of the house seemed to calm her instantly. I handed her a towel. "You can dry off." She smiled weakly. "I'm Emily." "I'm Sarah." A few minutes later, she sat at my kitchen table, wrapped in a warm blanket, holding a mug of hot tea with both hands. I heated a bowl of chicken soup. She looked embarrassed. "You don't have to do all this." "I know. But I'm doing it anyway." For the first time, she smiled. It wasn't a big smile, but it was enough to tell me he finally felt safe. After dinner, I asked the question that had been on my mind. "Is there someone I can call?" Her smile disappeared. She slowly shook her head. "No." "What about the baby's father?" She stared at the table, then quietly whispered, "He doesn't know where I am." Something about the way she said it made me stop asking questions. An hour later, the rain became even heavier. The weather forecast warned about flash flooding. Driving anywhere would have been dangerous. I looked toward the guest room. "You can stay here tonight." Emily's eyes filled with tears. "I can't ask you to do that." "You're not asking. I'm offering." She covered her face with both hands, then began crying. Not loud, not dramatically, just the quiet tears of someone who had been carrying too much for too long. That night, before going to bed, she stopped outside the guest room. "I don't know why you trusted me." I smiled. Sometimes people don't need to earn kindness. They just need someone willing to give it. She looked at me for several seconds, as if trying to remember every word, then softly said, "I promise. I'll never forget tonight." The next morning, I woke up early. The rain had finally stopped. I walked toward the kitchen, planning to make breakfast, but the house was silent. Emily was gone. The guest room was empty. Her blanket was folded neatly on the bed. At first, I thought she'd stepped outside. Then I noticed something on the kitchen table. A white envelope, with my name written across the front. Sarah. My hands began to shake as I slowly opened it. I carefully unfolded the letter. The handwriting was neat, almost trembling. I read, "Dear Sarah, by the time you read this, I'll already be gone. Please don't think I left because I wasn't grateful. The truth is, you gave me something I hadn't felt in a very long time. Safety. Last night, for the first time in months, I slept without fear. I'll never forget that. One day, when my child is old enough to understand, I'll tell him about the woman who opened her door to a stranger. Thank you for believing that I deserved kindness. Emily." I folded the letter carefully. Something told me I shouldn't throw it away, so I placed it inside the top drawer of my nightstand. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Eventually, life returned to normal. Sometimes, I'd wonder where Emily was. Whether her baby had been born safely. Whether she had found a better life. But I had no way of knowing. Years quietly passed. 5 of them. I was now 37. Still living in the same little house. Still working at the hospital. The only real difference was a golden retriever named Charlie, who insisted on greeting everyone at my front door. One Saturday afternoon, I was planting flowers in the front yard. Charlie suddenly lifted his head, then ran toward the front porch. Second later, I heard the doorbell. When I opened the door, a young woman stood there. She looked familiar, but older, more confident. She wore a navy blue coat. Her hair was neatly tied back. Beside her, holding her hand, was a little boy, maybe 5 years old. He looked up at me, with bright blue eyes. The young woman smiled. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then she quietly asked, "Do you still make chicken soup?" I froze. There was only one person who could have asked me that. Emily. She smiled, then nodded. It's been a long time. Before I knew it, I wrapped my arms around her. He hugged me just as tightly. I've wanted to come back for years. I stepped aside. Please, come in. Charlie immediately walked over to the little boy. Instead of barking, he gently sat beside him. The little boy laughed. Emily smiled. He loves dogs. I knelt beside him. What's your name? He smiled proudly. Ethan. Nice to meet you, Ethan. He looked around my house, then quietly said, My mommy told me this is the safest house in the whole world. I looked at Emily. She lowered her eyes. I've told him about you since the day he could understand words. We sat in the living room, just like 5 years earlier. Only this time, Emily wasn't frightened. She looked peaceful, confident, happy. After a few minutes, I finally asked, What happened after you left? Emily took a deep breath. The morning I left, I drove straight to a women's shelter. They helped me start over. I smiled. I'm glad. She nodded. They gave me a place to stay. They helped me finish nursing school. And 2 years ago, I became a registered nurse. I couldn't stop smiling. Emily. That's amazing. She reached into her purse, then carefully placed an old folded letter on the coffee table. I recognized it immediately. It was the thank you letter she'd left in my kitchen. 5 years earlier. I kept another copy. She smiled. I read it every year, to remind myself where my new life began. Then, she reached into her bag one more time. This time, she placed a small envelope in front of me. Across the front were 6 handwritten words. Please open this with Ethan present. I looked at Emily. What is this? She smiled through tears. It's the real reason we came back today. I looked at the envelope, then at Ethan. He smiled innocently. Mom says it's a surprise. Emily nodded. It is. My hands trembled as I slowly opened it. There was a folded letter and an old photograph. The photograph showed my front porch, taken 5 years earlier. I was standing in the doorway, handing Emily a warm blanket. I looked up in surprise. When was this taken? Emily smiled. My neighbor. The morning I left. I asked her to take it. I wanted one picture, to remember the place where everything changed. I quietly looked at the photo, then unfolded the letter. Dear Sarah, if you're reading this, then Ethan is finally old enough to understand why we came back. There is something I've never told you. The night I knocked on your door, I wasn't just running from a bad relationship. I was running because I believed my life was already over. I had no family, no money, no hope. I honestly thought my baby deserved someone better than me. Then you opened your door. You didn't ask for proof. You didn't judge me. You simply said, Come in. Those 2 words changed everything. Not just for me, for my son. I stopped reading. Emily quietly wiped away a tear. Ethan knows the whole story now. The little boy looked at me. My mommy says you're my hero. I smiled. No, buddy. Your mom is the hero. He shook his head. No. You helped my mommy become brave. For a moment, none of us spoke. Then Emily reached into her purse again. This time, she removed a small blue folder. She gently slid it across the table. What's this? She smiled. Open it. They were architectural drawings, photographs, and a large document. Across the first page, I read the words, "The Open Door House." I looked at Emily. She smiled through tears. After becoming a nurse, I started volunteering at the same shelter that helped me. Last year, they asked me to help lead it. She pointed to the drawings. We're opening a new home for pregnant women with nowhere to go. I smiled. That's wonderful. She slowly nodded. It will have emergency rooms, a daycare, medical care, job training, and counseling. I looked through the pages. Everything had already been planned. Then I noticed something. The name, printed across the entrance of the building. Sarah Mitchell House. I immediately looked up. Emily, I can't let you do that. She smiled. You don't get to decide. I laughed. Why? Because 5 years ago, you opened your home when no one else would. I want every woman who walks through those doors to know where this dream began. Then, someone knocked on my front door. 3 gentle knocks. Emily smiled. Perfect timing. I looked confused. Were you expecting someone? She nodded. I invited a few people. I opened the door. Standing outside were 6 women, each holding flowers. Some carried toddlers. One held a newborn baby. Another woman smiled. You must be Sarah. I nodded. She wiped away a tear. I stayed with Emily at the shelter. Another woman spoke. So did I. Then another. And me. Emily quietly whispered. They all asked to meet you. I looked at the women, then at the children standing beside them. Without realizing it, I had helped far more than one mother. I had become part of the beginning of dozens of new lives. For the next hour, we all sat together in my living room. Every woman had a story. Different names. Different cities. But the same beginning. Fear. One by one, they shared how Emily had helped them. A young mother named Jessica smiled. When I arrived at the shelter, I had nowhere to go. My daughter was only 3 months old. I thought my life was over. Emily looked at her and smiled. You finished college. Jessica laughed. And now I'm an elementary school teacher. Another woman spoke. I escaped an abusive relationship. I arrived with nothing but one backpack. Emily found me a safe place. Today, I own my own bakery. The room filled with quiet laughter. Then one woman, holding a newborn baby, looked at me. You don't know me. But without you, my son wouldn't exist. I felt tears fill my eyes. I never met you before today. She smiled. No. But you met the woman who saved me. She pointed toward Emily. And someone once saved her. At that moment, I finally understood. Kindness never stops with one person. It keeps moving, like a ripple across water. Emily stood up. I have one last surprise. She walked outside. Everyone followed her. Parked across the street was a small white shuttle bus. The side of it was covered with a blue ribbon. Emily handed me a pair of scissors. What am I cutting? She smiled. The ribbon. Confused. I cut it. Everyone applauded. The ribbon fell away. On the side of the shuttle were beautiful blue letters. Sarah's safe journey. I looked at Emily. What is this? She smiled. Our shelter's transportation program. It picks up pregnant women who have nowhere safe to go. No matter the time. No matter the weather. She paused. Because 5 years ago, someone opened a door for me. Now, we're making sure no woman has to face that journey alone. I couldn't speak. Then Ethan walked over, holding something behind his back. I made this for you. He handed me a folded piece of paper. I smiled before even opening it. It was a crayon drawing, just like the one Noah had given Rachel in another story. Only this one showed a little house. Its front door was open. A woman stood smiling in the doorway. A young mother held a little boy's hand. Above the picture, in careful handwriting, were 6 simple words. Thank you for opening your door. I knelt beside Ethan. I'll keep this forever. He hugged me tightly. I know. As everyone prepared to leave, Emily hugged me one last time. You gave me one safe night. I've spent the last 5 years trying to give that same night to someone else. I smiled through my tears. And you'll keep doing it. She nodded. For the rest of my life. As their cars disappeared down the street, I stood quietly on my porch. The same porch, where a frightened young woman had once stood in the rain. Back then, I thought I was simply helping someone through one difficult night. I was wrong. I had unknowingly helped create a future, where hundreds of mothers, and hundreds of children, would always have a safe door to knock on. Sometimes, the greatest changes in life begin with 2 simple words. Come in. And if another frightened stranger knocked on my door tonight, I already know exactly what I'd say. You're safe now. Come in.